Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Eddie, with another episode of Eddie G's Comic Culture, sponsored by the one and only Black Apparel. Sending a special shout out to those folks up north, thanking them once again for all the work that they've done for the show, the contributions that they've made. They've got a pretty awesome website. Make sure you check it out whenever you have the chance at www.blackapparelblk.com. Also, sending another special shout out to my Instagram friends. First and foremost, Strictly Comedy Vault, who's been a viewer of the show since I started. And he's got some great content on his Instagram page. Make sure you check him out. He's got some stuff every day posted up. And also sending another special shout out to a friend, Blu-ray Dan, who also not only has an Instagram page, but he also has a YouTube channel as well, with some lovely, lovely reviews over films on Blu-ray, both old and new. Make sure you check him out whenever you guys have the chance. So, as I stated earlier, I'm going to try to make as much work as I possibly can happen in front of the camera, as the weather conditions, as long as the weather conditions permit me. And I'm stuck right now in Florida. Of course, if you guys haven't been paying attention to the news, well, I'm sure it's all over the news right about now. That Hurricane Irma seems to be an imminent threat, coming more and closer to the state of Florida. Hopefully it won't be as bad as hopefully it won't be as bad as the newscasters keep saying, but you never know. So with that, I don't know what the power, I don't know what the situation with the power is going to be. So that's why I'm trying to get as much work done before, before it actually touches down. So, I wanted to do another brief, I wanted to do a pretty brief 80s movie tribute. This week I've been actually on an Arnold Schwarzenegger kick. Thanks to Amazon Home Video, I've purchased two films from them this week, both Red Heat and Raw Deal. Um, and Once again, this is just part of Arnold's 80s heyday. I wanted everyone to, I want everybody to know exactly, um, those are the younger generation in particular, what kind of impact these movies really have. As I was a youngster coming up in Queens, I remember, Channel 11 used to play a lot of the movies. After a while, after they were released on video for quite some time, but of course they were edited. So with that being said, I wanted to go ahead and try to celebrate as much as I possibly can. As now that now that I'm older and I have access to these films, and for what it's worth, it's it's pretty crazy to actually see these movies now, because obviously these films were pretty much driven by they were a lot of heavy action films for the 80s that were driven quite a bit so by main stars, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Tom Cruise, and Harrison Ford, even Patrick Swayze at some point. And you have Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal, who made his mark in the late 80s as well before he went nuts. and But in all honesty, the focus is going to be on those movies between the Arnold movies that I just mentioned. Red Heat was a pretty pivotal film. I think it was quite impactful in a lot of ways, due to the fact that it dealt with it tackled the issues of the Cold War, the tension between Russia and the United States at the time. Um, it was still well, Russia wasn't even Russia; it was still the Soviet Union, and it dealt with a lot of it dealt with Arnold. It starts off with Arnold as a police officer in the Soviet Union, and he's after a group of mafiosos who are apparently trying to transport drugs into the country, and they want to make, I believe it's Moscow, if I'm not mistaken, the next Miami, with the drug rush scene going on. So apparently Arnold's partner in the film gets killed in a drug bust, actually, in Russia, and he winds up getting away, only to set up shop. He flees the country, only to set up shop in Chicago, in what's this, 1988. So Captain Danko is the name of Schwarzenegger's character in the film, and he of course chases after him, and he has assistance through the Chicago Police Department as well, and the Russian embassy over at Washington D.C. as well have also helped him out to get into the state of Illinois for him to track down the the notorious the notorious mafioso, I believe is Victor Rasta, if I'm not mistaken. Then so throughout that process, he's actually partnered with James Belushi, who's pretty funny in the movie actually. He's a pretty awesome character. He plays a good cop in the movie. He's also on a lot of the '80s movies, especially these '80s action features. They always have like a cop that's always on the last. He's always like on the last thread when it comes to losing his job almost. So, and that's exactly the case with James Belushi. But anyway, they partner up, and it's against Belushi's will, of course, and so of course they're after these characters as they chase him throughout all of Chicago, and along the way they meet some pretty interesting characters. One is Gina Gershon, who plays the mafioso's wife. At some point, she marries him in the movie to get a visa, for the guy to get a visa, and he pays her off, I believe, 10 grand, if I'm not mistaken, and you know mayhem ensues as the cops figure it out, and Arnold's character himself finds out that she's involved with him, with Victor, and he wants information, but he's also playing it pretty close to the chest to make sure that he doesn't have any interference with local government at that time. So it's pretty badass in a sense because of the fact that there's still it kind of touches up on a situation, as I said before, between the United States and the Soviet Union. Then, of course, tensions were still high. I believe it was still in the middle of the Cold War, if I'm not mistaken, or the Cold War was just about close to ending, not too much so, but either or, no matter how you look at it, really. But it was a pretty awesome movie. Arnold, of course, had his one-liners, considering the fact that he did play Russian in the movie. Not too many, though, of course, but he had to play a serious character in this picture. But for the most part, it was very enjoyable, and a lot of the comedic scenes, a lot of the humor was pretty much Belushi's character in the film. He steals some of the scenes with it, and it's a pretty badass movie, man. It also ends up with Arnold catching a bad guy, killing him, of course, before they actually do anything else. And as always, that was the best thing about these movies, is that there was never no arrest when it came down to the showdown between the final showdown between Arnold being the good guy and whoever the villain was. Always the villain always wound up dead. They never were under arrest. There was always something that justified. There was always some sort of action that justified this person's death at the end of the movie, which is pretty cool. But it's the '80s. It's definitely a product of its time. Another one I wanted to talk about was Raw Deal. Another feature where Arnold takes to the streets of Chicago and he joins the mafia, and he tries to infiltrate. He infiltrates the organization from within, and he's sent on a special assignment from the former head of the FBI that he was working for quite some time, and the head of the FBI ends up going out, takes it personal because apparently his son, who was also an agent in the film, was murdered by these criminals. So at the end, it really he trusted Arnold's character to go ahead and catch these cats and bring them to justice. But apparently, he didn't really want them caught. He wanted them dead for what it was worth. So it's pretty badass because that's all. It's funny in a sense because Arnold becomes a member of the mafia, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to say the least. You get Arnold's one-liners in this one as well. Not so it's not so much the one-liners, honestly speaking, because he doesn't really have too many in this movie. But his character, his bravado that he carries himself with, to be a member of the mafia, is also pretty hysterical to watch. Sam Wanamaker, the main mob boss in the film that they're trying to take down, he's also hilarious. He's constantly using the phrase "that son of a bitch" throughout the whole movie. So it's a pretty good time to. It's a pretty good chill out flick to watch. Something that's good to laugh. It doesn't take itself too serious, of course. And you got Sosa from Scarface in there, the actor who plays Sosa. I keep forgetting his name, but he's in the movie as well. He plays an awesome character, and I think that other actor who has like a beef with Arnold in the movie once he joins the mafia, his name is Miguel Ferrer, if I'm not mistaken, one of those two. But he's also in the feature. Another old school actor from the '80s, very classic. It's a throwback to the time. It's another movie that's the product of its time, and Then of course it leads out to an ultimate gunfight, one in the gravel pit in Chicago. It's pretty ridiculous, but hilarious. It's pretty ridiculous and hilarious at the same time because you see Arnold taking out pretty much almost a small military akin to that of Commando. But the way he does it is unbelievable. The man actually kicks out the windshield of his car, and he's driving around with a machine gun and shooting people from the top of cranes while he's like at least a couple of 100 feet below on the ground and actually making the aim. But definitely an awesome feature. So I've been pretty much on that kick for the whole week, and I wanted to give you guys a heads up on that to give you something to check out. Like I said, I wanted to return. I'm always going to be returning back to the pop culture of the past, whether it's 80s or 90s, and those movies are definitely a product of their time in the 80s. Hilarious at that, no less. Um, but yeah, they were pretty boss. I loved them. They were great movies, and hopefully we get to, I cherish them with all my heart because honestly speaking, they're nothing. There's, those are one of the best movies I could possibly imagine. That actually, there's no better way to pass the time. But it is what it is. Hopefully, you guys, if you get an opportunity to check it out, let me know. But that's gonna be it for this episode. I wanted to just make a brief one, just to throw something out there for you guys as well. Um, Hey, like I said, thank you once again, always, for you guys for riding out with me from the very beginning. I do appreciate the love and support that I'm getting. Thank you for all the feedback, and if anything, if there's anything else you wanted to talk about, any suggestions you have for me for future episodes, hit the comment section. I'll always be scrolling through to see anything that I could put in for future episodes. Let's get a conversation going, man. So with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody, all you guys, for riding out with me since the very beginning. If you guys are in Florida, please stay safe. I know it's coming soon. We're gonna be having some harsh weather conditions, so be on the lookout for some more videos from me prior to Sunday. Um, as I said before, I won't know what the power situation is gonna be, if we have a power outage or how long it will last to begin with. Everything is pretty much up in the air. So with that being said, I'd like to thank everyone once again. I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. And until next time, take it easy. Bye.